life was hard, so we start with the farm and we start teaching people in the local community. We start also building platform where we teach young girls about their rights, empower them. Then from there, now everybody is advocating and working in their community and they're making impact. We have an amazing example of that. Thank you.
I think this is a great question. I think that a unifying theme amongst all of the panelists is not only passion, but also collaboration. As a result of my work with human rights, I work for the United Nations now. I would say I've seen quite a few speeches in General Assembly Hall that have said the most important speech I've ever seen in the UN was from an indigenous activist who was 18. And he performed a tribal dance and basically called for indigenous rights. And I think it was so powerful because the Zidane really speaking for his own community, being so real purpose, great marriage with passion, unity, and collaboration. So I think that the most important way that really pushing this forward is by, focusing on what matters to you, like just thinking that with your colleagues, with your classmates. Biggest thing is just to start. Ultimately, what you have to do with the best ways I find the best ways to advise on the is to go to the Human Rights website, to do the actual course that you're able to further. Isabella and CIR also offer rights consultation training. Incredible. And then finally, really to attend an international summit at the United Nations. Because at those events, it's really incredible, like all over the world. This is one of the big ways that we all have started ourselves. And from those events, they found themselves acts as a hub to foster incredible amounts of creativity and partnerships. You like-minded friends that you'll meet that will allow you to really take off.
So, okay. So as we conclude, anyone have one sentence? Great.
Don't believe in human rights, but build systems, movements, and classrooms that make them breathe.
Miss you all, guys. Start.
For me, I remember in 2011 when I was doing some community work during different levels South Sudan. One of the oldest factors to be on stage, God of experience would that educated us because if you didn't give that knowledge, anybody would have full and just make or not say, oh, stand here, not here. So that is why knowledge, that is why knowledge is important. And also when we grow up, I remember when my mom told me, education is the only tool that are giving you to empower yourself and keep your tickets when you grow up. That is clear now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you again to our panelists. I would now like to bring up our next set of panelists. Please come to the stage. Holding the Dell, the Director of Advocacy and Engagement for Three Strands Global. Bonnet, welcome, the co-founder of Voices Against Africa. And as we have them come up, we're going to learn our human rights. PSA number 4, no slavery.
Okay, kids, here we are at the slave exhibit. Now, as you can see, the slaves would get up from their homes, chained together for weeks. They would crail them onto these ships in very appalling conditions. can see right here, they were treated like animals. They worked all day long for no pay. Some of the slave masters were very cruel. They whipped them and they beat them, as you can see, it's with these pictures. So, before moving on, are there any questions? Since there's no actors today.
Please welcome our panelists to the stage. This is moderated by Dr. Isabel Montoya, Chairwoman of the U.S. Institute of Humanos.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Isabel Montoya. I'm so excited to welcome you to this nation's capital. We are in the U.S. Congress and in Office House building. So I want to first give a round of applause to all the U.S. IOHR consultants, various students from all over the country and also the world have joined us today. We have people who have come from Minnesota to Utah, to Chicago, like the whole Illinois area. What else? Massachusetts, Florida, all over the place. Thank you, all of you, for Texas. In the room today with us, we have a special 2 days ahead of us, and we go so far. Dr. Benny Shuttleworth, she gave you that word of inspiration. I'm going to repeat the call to action for you to come also at the UN, the Pittsburgh Human Rights International Summit in the summer. It's going to take place at the UN, because this is where you also get to apply what we are learning here today. So thank you so much, everyone. Ahead of us, we have some distinguished panelists for the human trafficking prevention. Now, this is, as Dr. Shuttleworth was saying, it's not a nice topic. However, our purpose today here is not only about the bad things, which is what is happening with human trafficking. Is what can we do as human rights or anti-trafficking advocates do to curb this horrific crime, to prevent it from even happening in the first place by using the best tool in the world, which is education. So for this, I'm very, very excited to introduce our panelists today, which is first one, which I'm going to invite here to join me on the podium, is Ms. Holly Nadell. She's the Director of Advocacy and Engagement from Luis Trans Global Foundation. She's a business owner and a survivor leader in the anti-trafficking movement. So without further ado, please, Holly, thank you.
Thank you so much, Isabel. When we talk about human trafficking, too often the conversation begins only after the harm has already occurred. As someone who survived trafficking, who now works directly in policy, legal reform, and systems change, I want to be clear. Prevention is not optional. It is essential, and it is our strongest defense. And as we already heard today so eloquently by Dr. Mary, prevention education saves lives, and knowledge is power. And I can't echo that enough. We also echoed it on the panel we just heard as well. And it's not through fear-based messaging, but through accurate, age-appropriate education that helps people recognize coercion and manipulation before they escalate. I have seen, you guys get there. Okay, I've seen firsthand how this helps families and educators to identify grooming behaviors that are often hidden in plain sight. How I received this education, I believe my own trafficking victimization could have been prevented altogether. We have the evidence that this works. The Protect Prevention Education Program developed by Luis Trans Global Foundation achieved an evidence-based designation following a rigorous independent evaluation by the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention. The data is striking. School staff's ability to identify red flags jumped from just over 20% to more than 80%. This shows the power of research-grounded education. To achieve true prevention, we must move beyond damaging myths. Trafficking is rarely kidnapping. It frequently involves psychological coercion, financial control, and exploitation by someone the victim already knows. Furthermore, it's not only sex trafficking. Labor trafficking is widespread and deeply underreported. My own 8-year experience involved overlapping forms of both. The complexity our systems often fail to recognize. This is why legislation is the backbone of our work. We recently celebrated a historic victory. On January 23rd, 2026, the Trafficking Survivors Relief Act was signed into law. This act recognizes This act recognizes that many survivors are criminalized as a result of their exploitation, and it provides essential tools for justice and record clearing. But our work is not finished. We must now turn our urgency toward HR 1144, the Frederick Douglass Trafficking Victims Prevention and Protection Reauthorization Act of 2025. The TVPA, or the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, was the foundational bill that changed how the United States defines human trafficking, recognizing fraud, force, fraud, and coercion, not just physical restraint. It established prevention, protection, and prosecution as interconnected pillars. Critical lifelines for survivors have been in limbo for years as provisions have lapsed. I am asking you today to reach out to your representatives and urge them to support and co-sponsor HR 1144 to ensure that these vital programs are fully reauthorized. From my perspective, prevention education and legislation must operate together. Education without policy leaves communities vulnerable. Policy without education leaves survivors unprotected. True prevention also requires addressing root causes: economic instability, housing insecurity, gaps in labor protections, failures in work safety, and lack of survivor-informed approaches. Survivors must be at the table, not only as storytellers, but as experts in systems, policy, and solutions. If we are serious about ending trafficking, we must move beyond myths, invest in evidence-based education, and fully implement the laws that empower survivors. Prevention is not just about stopping trafficking, it is about building systems where exploitation cannot thrive. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pauline, for your advocacy in making this legislation, important legislation, to happen not only this year, but continuing to. Now it's my pleasure to introduce to you Honorable Blanquita Colon, Pinky, we call her. She's the co-founder of Voices Against Trafficking, which is a nonprofit organization uniting national and international partners committed to eradicating the business of trafficking from human lives. And I know many of you here in the room have or are leaders of organizations that would be lovely to join also Blanquita's Voices Against Human Trafficking. Without further ado, I'm not going to read the entire biography of Blanquita because she's done so much throughout her life. She's even traveled all the way to Romania. Right about that. She was a host of one of the most influential radio stations. She's a journalist also, and she has received so many accolades and awards for her leadership. So without further ado, thank you, Blanquita, for being here with us today.
You're on the front line of all the things that are going on. So I have to beat my brains out trying to tell you about it. Because you know about it. You're making a difference. You're courageous. And I want to tell you that she's courageous as a survivor. Can you imagine having the guts to come back out here, not only to get out of the system, but to make a difference? Well, the woman that was actually the founder of Voices Against Trafficking, I met her at one interview. Her name was Andy Berger. Andy Berger came to my program, The Hard Way. And she'd been trafficked, now get this, from the age of 6 months old to 17 years. And she escaped. She got out. Now think about the horror. Every 2 minutes, a child is sold into human trafficking. So, now, it's not about right versus left, it's right versus wrong. If you don't believe in human rights, there's okay? And honest to God, when I heard the story of Andy Berger, you know, I'm not nice parents. My mother loved me, not my father's family. They were very, you know, good family. I'm hearing about what this book went by, and I thought to myself, I didn't know about this. Because some people say, well, human trafficking happens, not like it. It happens in every neighborhood. It happens in this town. The amount of human trafficking that happens in Washington, D.C., Virginia, Maryland, Montana, Nevada, and think about what's going on the border right now of those children. Let me tell you about whiskey against trafficking. We're rebel. We have a 501c3, but we invite all of you that have your 501c3s to join us. You don't lose your attendance. We're a coalition. So that when we have to speak out, we are many voices speaking as one. We count on you because courage is contagious. You got it? We've got multiple books out here that we have Voices Against Trafficking. It's now in the Library of Congress. We now have the Voices of Courage Awards. We have a magazine that's out, the Voices of Courage magazine. And I encourage you to take a look because we'd like to have your story. But anyway, just like you, think about the courage and judgment. You know, every single person that's been trafficked, they all have PTSD. Can you imagine? And what I was going to tell you about the State House, we have all these different organizations. We've got the airline ambassadors. These are the airline attendants. They're not sponsored by their airlines, but they have coalesced together to try to spot these victims to help save their lives. We have Alma Tucker, who has the International Association of Hearts. She has a safe house in Tijuana, Mexico. Okay. Those go like in Tierra. And the thing of it is, those little safe houses now, little boys and girls and girls are. And you know, we sit there and we're trying to think, oh my God, we're still in Mexico with the cartels, right? I'm told you those victims. We have one of the survivors that came to a safe house in Maryland. We had to get help for it because the cartels followed that little kid, that boy, all the way to the safe house in Baltimore to try to take him. Now, take a break to tell you that we've got to get off our families here and do something because this is 21st century slavery. You look at all the things, the Underground Railroad in this world is the Underground Railroad. We don't make a difference, and we don't make a difference, and you don't have a soul, you have a spirit, and you believe in heaven and hell. I don't want to be down there for it. Okay? Let's make a difference for good. We have an opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Monica. Thank you, Holly. Thank you both of you. First of all, I know you're very busy. Holly here, she's actually been running to the White House, so we're going to cut this, you know, we are a little bit also behind schedule. But I didn't want to miss this opportunity to ask these wonderful ladies. We talked about human trafficking prevention, right? And human trafficking prevention is something that us at the U.S. Institute of Diplomacy, Human Rights, we work with. And I know you have 3 strands as well, and one that I have Voices Against Trafficking. So one of the methods I came up with is empowering more people to education by creating this certification program where we train them to become anti-trafficking consultants. Any anti-trafficking consultants right here in the room trained? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. So, in your, both of your opinions, we'll start with Marquita. What is the single most impactful prevention strategy that you realistically, we can see it implemented in the next 5 years?
You're gonna think I'm crazy. That's okay, I might accept it. You know, with a name like money, I don't want to look at money that don't be almost I get to be a little crazy. Here's the deal. We got to train parents how to help their kids. They gotta be more engaged. They've got to find out who the friends are, what the friends' families do. Do your kids have a safe word that you use? That if your kid is having trouble, they can give you a name or a word that you'll know to go get them right away. I think the education starts with the mothers and fathers being able to sit down with their kids and tell them, look, I don't care what it is, you can call me even if you're in trouble, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm gonna come out and get you. We have to be more involved with our kids, when they're looking at a television, when they're sitting on the computers. We need to take bigger action.
Thank you. Polly?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with everything you said. In addition, I would just say that, so at Restricts Global Foundation, what we have found to be most successful in terms of scaling prevention education is the whole monthly facilitator academy trainings, where we bring parents and educators and lots of individual community members to the table, which is our headquarters in Sacramento. And we train them on our prevention education so that they can then go back to their districts and teach their school districts or other parents, their kids. And that is how we scale globally. Right now, we have prevention education across the country. And we are continuing to grow this and reach as many folks and students and teachers, educators, et cetera, through this model of training here.
Thank you, Holly. And I know Holly and we actually discussed a little bit about this before. Is a lot of people who get education, they are less likely to become a victim at one point, right? I'm a clear example of that. I was born in post-communist Romania, and all my friends, I was in a ghetto type of neighborhood, and all my friends, unfortunately, by the age of 16, 17, they were trafficked. I was one of the few, fortunately, who never had, become so far that to become a victim of human trafficking, because my grandparents, that rest in peace now, they send me every summer camps. I was going to anti-drug camps and anti-human trafficking camps, right? So these programs that I do and like events that Latina is doing and raising awareness and also at the Peace Chance Foundation and at USIHR are really, really important. But I want to ask you something that I've been confronting myself over the past few years. I'm trying to educate more people about human trafficking. And the number one objection or thinking that people have is that they think human trafficking only happens with violence. They think it's like in the movies. A car or a van stops in front of the street, kidnaps you, they take you away, and that's how you become a victim of human trafficking. So what do you have to say at the core of it to tell the audience exactly that is not how it happens? 90% of the cases actually they don't start with violence at all.
I don't know. Yeah, the thing of it is, start looking at these young kids and seeing if they're acting strange. Are they for shy? Do they look like they want to confront people? Do they look weird? I mean, how do they communicate? Because think about this. I got this whole list of phone numbers. This is a whole list of numbers that you can call if you're worried about the abuse hotline. But a kid that's a victim can be happening in his own familiar trafficking. Nobody wants to talk about cousin Jordan doing something in that. They keep it quiet. So to have a place where a child can understand, even at school, that they can go tell somebody that they can trust that they're in trouble.
Yeah, fine.
Yes, so the important thing to understand, just as you said, kidnapping is actually less than 1%. And that is actually the stat of how often that actually happens. In most cases, as I mentioned in my remarks, the victims actually know their traffickers because the traffickers develop relationships with their victims. There's often a long grooming process. And basically, you know, a child or adult, you know, any vulnerability could be an opening for a trafficker to play upon it. In my particular circumstance, I experienced my victimization as a young adult. I had lost my job. I was living in New York City by myself, trying to figure out how I was going to make rent. And I started to fall into a depression, and unfortunately, that's exactly when I met my traffickers. They initially helped me get back on my feet. I started working again. During this process, they were learning anything they could possibly use against me. And then it pulled the rug out from under me once they knew every single thing that made me vulnerable to play upon that. These traffickers are master manipulators, and the other thing that people don't understand is that they can look like anyone. They are often super charming and charismatic. That is how they get in. And sometimes this grooming process can go on for a very long time. And so, you know, it's knowing and recognizing, you know, those in your community and recognizing if there's sudden changes in behavior. There are always certain indicators that you can see when somebody is going down this line. It's just being attuned to them.
Like, you know, when you have a big sporting convention where these people want to have a product to be able to entertain people, where you have a lot of trafficking going on. And when you look at the cartels right now, there's one out in Mexico right now, and it is the joining of all these cartels fighting against the country. But remember, they're looking at human trafficking more than actually the drugs, because the payout goes on for years. They make $1 billion with $1 billion a month on human trafficking. So you think we should be able to stop what's going on? Absolutely. Because the innocent victims are the ones that don't get arrested.
That's right. And we have FIFA coming up this summer, right, in the US. So this is like a full activities here. So if there was a message, like the final message to like kind of train the trainers, right? So it's a room full of academics and trainers that can potentially go out there and impact. This is how we make the impact, right? So it's us telling the 150 people in the room that then they go and tell 10,000 people. What's one thing you want to tell them? Thank you.
Coming out of the comments. I want you to find out everybody that you deal with. Do they know the mayor? Do they know the city council? Do they go to the meetings? Do they go to member of conferences? Do they know the Senate areas? You have power. This building represents people we elected as Americans. They work for us. Violence.
You said that perfectly. That was pretty much going to be my message as a policy person. But exactly right. You know, most people don't realize that their representatives are there to listen and they want to hear from you as constituents. So pick up the phone, write letters, go to their office, meet with them, tell them that you care about this issue. If we pass these policies like HR 1144, like I said, that was the foundational bill to define what human trafficking is. The more legislation that is helpful, that is out there, the harder it is for this to exist.
Thank you so much, both of you. You personally, every time I meet you personally on a professional level, I appreciate your sharing with us the fact. If there was something that I want to share with you, I want you to do the following. Take your phone right now. I want you to take a picture of us being at this panel, and then you are going to post it on your social media and share the message against human trafficking.
Go to voice against black.com and join us. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Acaba de terminar el panel de Human Trafficking Prevention, básicamente prevención de tráfico humano. Este panel estuvo a cargo de Holly Nader y Blanquita Coulomb, dirigido por Isabel Añón.
I would like to play for you. Desde. Now we have an important discussion on advancing veterans' rights. Please welcome to the stage our moderator, Judith Rose, Chair of the USIG Tower Veterans Committee, and our panelists, Joy Price, Associate Director, National Legislative Service, Foreign Affairs, and Board of the United States, and Adrian Helmschieffer, Esquire, founder of Military Children's Foundation for Almost. So instead of saying hello, I'm going to say howdy. I'm from Texas. And my name is Judy Cushman DeBose, and I am a United States Army soldier, and I am a veteran for life. It's my honor and my privilege to join the United States Army in the 70s. Little did I know, though, that human rights would affect me even as a soldier. First of all, I would like to thank you for watching on TV on WhatsApp, my best friend and my rock of Gibraltar, David Swain, who without his love and support, I couldn't do any of the things I do. I stand here today with immense gratitude and a profound sense of hope as we gather around this USIG Human Rights Conference in Washington, D.C. at our nation's capital, one that is celebrating 250 years of our life. First and foremost, I would extend my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Isabel and for the gracious invitation to participate in this prestigious event and entrusting me with the honor and privilege of sharing the Veterans Community platform. It is both a privilege and a serious responsibility that I hold close to my heart. And I am eager to see our work not only have an impact on a national level, but hopefully one day soon when it resonates to an international level. To quote Dr. Henry, now look to his power. Veterans work. We look forward to educating you on veteran issues that translate to human rights. I told you that I didn't know that women were going to have challenges when I joined the United States Army. I joined at a time when out of 111 military occupational specialties, only 31 were open to women. So guess what? I got one of those 31. However, now thank goodness, under the leadership of past administrations and after Vietnam and prior to war on terrorism, all MOSs, military occupational specialties, are open to women
However, it's not been enough until 2020, when a woman went into the Veterans Administration. There were no HUA encounters. There were no ladies' underwear or tampons, tampons or tampons in the restrooms in the VA hospital because they were all made for men. So I found the most tragic piece of information out when I was a patient in the VA. I got out of the VA and went to my private doctor and he put me in a civilian hospital. Long story short, after my visit in the hospital, which was not that big a deal, I went to Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee after other trips to Mayo counterparts in the congressional buildings. And the late great Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee said, well, what do you need? I said, we need women's underwear, we need women's bras, we need women's jammies. I mean, can you imagine the horror of having to see the men's boxer shorts? So she picks up the phone and she says, come in here, and her staffer came in. 3 days later, 300 cartons of women's underwear, bras, personal equipment, pajamas, everything came by way of Victoria's Secret and the Kotex Corporation to the VA hospital in Houston. And we had the best pajamas in the state. I mean, not a lot to do with Congresswoman on various different things, but when it came to female veteran issues or veteran issues on a whole, I could call on her and she would pay attention and she would listen and she would act. We lost a great number of Congress when she passed. However, her footprint for female veterans is unstoppable and something that is in the footprint of our country. At this moment, I'd like to ask all veterans to please stand. If you are a veteran, and if you are a veteran from another country, please stand. Now, if you are a person in this audience who's got a family member that was in our military or a military around the world, please stand. Look at how many veterans we have in this country. Look at how many of you can help veterans globally in the United States of America that have fought for your freedom and my freedom. Because when we sign up for the military, we're writing a blank check to our government, and you or your countrymen have written a blank check to theirs. You can take your seats now. So now, it is my great privilege to introduce you to my distinguished panel, our distinguished panel. From the National Office of the Veterans Forum, we have Associate Director and Legislative Service Center, Warrant Officer Joy Hall, United States Marine Corps retired. I told Joy that she can't ever forget my birthday because it's November 10th, which is the anniversary of the Marine Corps. Joy practiced served our nation for 22 years with the Marines, specializing in aviation ordnance or bombs. Following her military career, she has committed herself to advocacy and public service, continuing her education and championing the rights of veterans. And she is now one of the most powerful advocacy groups in the United States, the Veterans of Foreign Wars. And it is my hope and prayer that we can do a collaboration with VFW and USIDHI and have our voices heard in an effective, strong, and meaningful manner. Her focus encompasses vital areas such as legislation, foreign affairs, military quality of life, and the seamless transition from civilian military to civilian life. So I'm very grateful for you being here. Next, I would like to introduce to you the United States Army retired Colonel Adrian Schaefer, founder of Military Suits Foundation. Her organization works diligently to support military children, ensuring that their unique challenges are addressed and that they receive the resources they need to thrive. Colonel Schaefer, your advocacy for military families exemplifies the spirit of service. We look forward to hearing about your vital work and service and what can be done to ease that process for those children that are so in need. How can we ensure that they feel supported and connected during these changes? How can those that are still in uniform feel supported and connected as they transition out? So it is with great pleasure that I take the opportunity to invite Joy to the podium to explain and discuss the thoughts she has and the DFW has on transition, and then we will invite Dr. Colonel Schaefer to the podium, and then we will have questions. Thank you. Joy. Thank you so much. I'm bringing my water with me. Writing something, so I will throw it to you, please. Thank you so much. Thanks for having us. Thank you, everybody in the room, for human rights. It's fundamental, and take your time and energy to do this work. It's just so important and not undervalued. Just great file of merit. Really do appreciate the hard work you're doing and the hard work you're deciding. And looking forward to so I'm happy to talk about a portion of my platform, like the Veterans Safety Course, which is military disciplinary transition. A lot of folks who aren't associated with military say, what's the need to military transition? Not true. This is a major life transition in our and when Judith asked if I was associated with military U.S. some of those transition struggles first before. So the VFW has made that transition in 45 every year 200,000 service members be back to raise, and for many they're accessible, but a lot have not. Military civilian reintegration is not just emotional adjustments, mental health, economic security, ultimately national benefits. When transition systems fail, measures are more likely employment, housing instability, financial pressure, substance abuse challenges, and elevated suicide, particularly in the first generation, when the VA is described as deadly. The effective form of workplace reintegrated must be separate. That responsibility lies squarely with the first bill I'd like to talk about today, the first bringing is HR 1835, which is actually been introduced yesterday in this as well, and I think that's for that it's also a precedent for the TAP promotion. TAP is the transition. What this bill would do would improve the TAP program that has to service a lot of activity, and it would connect them with representatives from accredited representatives from agencies like the VFW, like the American who connect their service members before they even separate and help them file their claim with the VA so that they have continuous care of benefits, health care, services, transfer easily from DOD to the VA. And right now, that access for more accredited representatives to go into this transition process not guaranteed in this little law. Non-profits who are accredited will be able to have access to these service members while they're still on the life change. So, tap the much is one of our biggest legislative issues. Second, we support the establishment of a senior DOD official for transition. Right now, transition responsibilities are fragmented across offices, and there's no single leader within the department that owns strategy outcomes. Creating a accountability department that's consolidating oversight for part of the secretary and transform this transition from a checklist of members of the commission. Third, Congress must exercise stronger oversight. Billions of dollars are spent annually across transition programs, yet long-term outcomes. Participation remains inconsistent. So even though the law says this first round of people to look into these classes, so far there are separations commanding officers could just wave and say, my unit's mission is more important than with and so we're going to wave you out of this. And you're going to say, so, Robert needs to do more for the outdoor side. Transition and reform also intersects other leaders of priorities, including efforts to ensure financial stability, modernization, training, health care, stronger suicide prevention safeguards, and tracking down statutory claims companies that exploit veterans during long-term care as a whole conversation. These are not isolated issues, they are connected to how well we our service members meet. So reintegration should not depend just solely on nonprofits or the goodwill or advocates for post-discharge outreach. It must be institutionalized within those units. Find somebody celebrates within that discharge form. What would you say? And so trying to address transition not for somebody's on the way out, which is the mission of the VA and the Department of Labor. If something's they're going to be veterans who set up for success, day of discharge, it can very quickly evolve in their life. Every service member will eventually transition. The question is whether transition becomes a launch pad, that way leaders experience that honoring service and transition must be treated as the final mission. And then the Department of Defense must do. Thank you, Joy, and thank you all of you. I hope all of you listened and heard the transition is critical to our success. I've had no transition. My company commander said, well, we'll see you later. Good luck. He knew I had a job waiting for me to join Michigan with General Motors. However, transition really hurt me. Not having transition hurt me, especially in 1987 when my late husband died of a service-connected disability, and I got to knock on the door and told, well, your husband has passed, and I was forced because back then there were no rights for parents of reservists that had children to be able to stay in the reserves. We had parental contracts, those kinds of things. So Joy, all of those things have not fallen on deaf ears. And we have a whole group of people that I hope are going to become strong advocates for transition for soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coasties, and now Space Force. Now, next I want to have Colonel Schaefer come forward to talk about the Military Assist Foundation. Because as I indicated, this foundation is critical to addressing the unique challenges faced by military children during transition. I'd like to share your thoughts on how we foster a supportive environment for military families, particularly relating to the resources and strategies that can be implemented to ensure children can navigate these changes with greater ease. Military children grow up, if they're on a base or in a community where the military and reserve unit is active, with a close network. And when there's a grown out of the network, crisis can happen. So Colonel Dr. Schaefer, the lead is yours. Well, Steve, is it still morning time? Well, hello everyone. It is definitely a privilege to be able to come for this body and for this invitation. So when I put up the warrants that I was delivered today, I kind of had different things about what to about. We were thinking about the transition of our military children. And so thinking about what is the lens from which I would continue to have this discussion. So it's I think colored a bit more. But first, let me just kind of take you to the initial experience and we'll talk about the transition and about the unification. The first thing that came to mind was,
What does a child experience when there has been long-term separations from a parent due to a call to active service that they have been deployed? When we think about unifying them, what does that look like? What does that look like from the lens of a child? What does that look like from the lens of a parent? And how do they begin to put that relationship back together? Because it has been severed by a need to serve this country. It's not about a story, just quickly. Imagine the door opens and the soldier has returned their child. And imagine what that child is like. That child has grown older. Something about them has changed. Something about them they did not get to witness through the time that has passed. And then now imagine the child was grieving that parent for the first time after that long separation, wondering, do they see me as who I am today? They left me as a young person inexperienced about what it means to be separated from my loved one. And now I have changed. I've had to grow through an experience that they did not get to see because they were elsewhere. So this is the lens I want you to appreciate. So now that parent has stepped across the threshold, now we're thinking about what does it mean to reconnect? They have to understand that first, that identity that has been created is now new. And so now as we begin to connect it to the theme that we are doing today, to make sure that our children aren't in a place where they find themselves so disconnected to the person that has returned that they begin to look elsewhere. They begin to look elsewhere for identity. And that's where they can come in. And we cannot allow that. So now, we want our children to make sure that they feel seen, heard, that there's still connection. And so that means maybe the parent has to take a child out to dinner, celebrate some of those things that was missing, because they need to know that they are just as loved, that they are just as cherished, and that they were missed too. That relationship is still important. And so for the child, they want to know that they are still significant in the eyes of that parent. Yes, that parent has an obligation, a duty to serve, but yet they still have the duty to remain connected to the child. So when we think about what the Military Children's Foundation does, we want to make sure that our parents appreciate what the obligation still is. And to the extent that they are not able to do that, the organization comes alongside them and be able to fill the gaps to make sure that that child does not lose, but the child still has an opportunity to gain. So that's what we do. And so during the month of the military child, it comes up in April. And we do an event that's called the Military Child World Expo. It is an opportunity to bring awareness to the special needs of our military children. And we can do this as a community. As we do it as a community and educating on human rights, this is another thing that we can do to ensure that our children have what they need to succeed and to thrive. So I want, hopefully, if you are in town, to be able to participate in some way that you can help us connect, help us lead and advance our children to make sure, because they are the future. They are the future. You have an opportunity to cover what that future is going to look like. Let's do it together. Thank you for this opportunity. So I'm going to ask, I've got a couple of quick questions before I sign off. But prior to that, I would like to meet my Michigan stand. Where's Chicago? Oh, there it is. And it's John, John Rickman. So Maisha and John Ramos, who Maisha is retired United States Air Force. John is retired United States Marine Corps retired, are the backbone of my committee. They are rock stars, and they always have my 6 o'clock. And if anybody knows what that means, they always have my back. You will never know how much I appreciate and value the hard work, dedication to our community that is part of the global community of veterans. So I want to ask Joy, what would you like, if you could have one thing that you would like to have this body of people do, what would it be? Is to keep veterans and keep service members. It's front of mind. They were discovered there. It's really embraced. And the most important is the way that they fall. But the fighting continue. And that is. I mean, very hard work. I don't know how much their service. The whole team. People were focused on especially that. People leave the military struggle. It's already in his rooms, and it's a failure. It's a failure on Congress, on the American people. Service member gets out of the military, it's comes and falls. American voters, at least that just mentioned, probably not be American. Probably not. We have a American capital, pretty much national security, and all volunteers. That's the general thing that it was a that is what my Dr. Schaefer, what can this body do to support your amazing foundation that I'm taking time to receive? Because when, like I indicated, when my sons and I were formed to lead a time reserve community, the three of us felt extremely disappointed. What can we, as this body, help support you with your foundation in this body, the whole Congress, make things better for our children? So just to correct, not the doctor, so retired colonel. I just wanted to make sure I could say that the doctor, because those who are definitely earned it deserve the title. So just wanted to make sure. So one of the things we're doing as an organization, it is the Military Child Expo Foundation. And we are looking to build the home of the military child. And when we think about that, our military children are born and raised all over. And many of them experienced multiple transitions in life and never really feel a sense of connection, a sense of belonging. And so we are looking to change that with the home of the military child. And the expo is there to help provide the resources. You as a community can help to advocate for that. You as a community can be a part of the home. And so I would love for you to consider going to military child, the Military Child World Expo.com or mcwef.org, and it tells you more about the home of the military child, what we're looking to build, what you can do as a community to support that. And it would just be such an amazing thing for you to do for our military children and those who are connected to service. So I'm on the position of the United States military, no matter what branch. I would like to have both of you come forward so I can present you with the official USIDH uniform. It has to be done to your handshake. That's the code. So I'm going to close it off. I'm going to make one more statement. Freedom is not free. Don't forget it. Don't let it go to waste, and make sure you get engaged. Please, even if you're not a veteran, go to USI.org, sign up to be on our Veterans Committee. Let us help advocate for not only yourself, your veteran family members, other veterans in the world. And God bless you, God bless America, and God bless Texas.
Wonderful. So we had it work with us, right? And we can our narrative. We have a wonderful tour. Let's spend with we're all here. So in order to be able to educate on time, as our scheduling, we're going to back. So we're adjusting. So I'd like to bring up our next speaker. Please help me welcome Executive Director. Which is natural. Here's all. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
I've been in the back, but we're looking in the backs of your heads all day. You look amazing, and this is an awesome conference, isn't it? So I'm really proud to be here. I'm really honored to be talking to all of you, and I think that you are an amazing group of people. I haven't prepared some notes here, so I'll be my passion is with you. I feel it's like a dream night for human rights for all this coming together from many different states and many different parts of life, different professions, and it's just amazing to have everyone together here. You may have heard of on your program, I'm giving the call to action, but you have many calls to action already today, which is great. Right when you hear the message, it's call to action, what to do. I'm going to reiterate some of those points. You may have heard them already, but I want to say that I hope that you've been very inspired by these people. Really inspired? I mean, looks like you're really active in the human rights. But you probably come here today because you want to do more. And so we hope that we'll give you tools and technology to do more to actually be able to achieve what you'd like to achieve. Human rights, I guess something like this. And we want to make real changes. Now, from my position on the staff of the Church of Scientology, I've worked with youth human rights since the beginning. And that was like 25 years ago, our 25th anniversary this year. I was also one of the board of directors of youth human rights for 5 years. So I'm very passionate about this program and many great programs in the Church of Scientology. But this one was a special one for me. That's great. And what this church does in regards to this is that you end up Universal Declaration of Human Rights. But we provide all the publishing, printing, shipping, everything all around the world, all in 17 languages, creating the shelves, and of course, Mary's wonderful son, Terry Nixon, created all of those videos that you see on today and on our websites. So we get those out everywhere. We coordinate and organize this so it can happen. Now you wonder, where did the motivation come from this? And earlier in the day, there was one line, one sentence that would inspire you. Well, that came from the words of church founder, Scientology founder, Elon Musk. And he wrote in 1960, he wrote a letter to people of the churches of Scientology, the staff members. And he said to them, he said that it was 1969, it was assassinated by a figures here and many determined things in the 60s.
He said, we must make human rights a fact, not an idealistic thing. And so I think that you're here because you want to make human rights a fact. And I hope that we can give you tools to do that. Now, my first call to action for you is to get out there and talk. I think that the kind of people who want to do that anyway, but so maybe state the obvious, but we want to teach people like universal declaration of human rights. And not just the favorite rights you might know they really want to see, but all 30 of them. That people need to understand this is the path. This is the 30 human rights. Some of them are uncomfortable or different. Or how do they work together? How does freedom of speech and also identity? And how do we get these things to make sense together? And the way we do that is discussing and working it out. Well, I didn't realize that if I said love to you, it would be very offended. So now I can work it out. Find out how to do the person. If you know all the 30 rights, you start thinking about it. And the children should really be taught human rights. So many people, as you've heard already today, they don't know all the 30 rights. You don't know five of them. But once you say that, of course, they're very practical. It makes sense. And we want to also, we want to get out and talk to people about this, person to person. We also want to talk to people who can do something. So that would be our members of Congress and senators and getting out to other legislators, other local officials. Why don't we see each one of you are constituents in a district. Let's know where I can Congressman in 2 seconds. Unless you go to these. No senators would be seen. But you can meet them when you're back home. And we hope that you will. We hope you go home and visit with your member of Congress in the district. The district offices are different than DC. They want to hear from everybody in the district. You voted for me, you didn't vote for me, fine. It doesn't matter. I want to know, what do you want me to do? What's your congressman? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? And you want to go tell them, right? Or about how can you get better rights or any different area you want to talk about. One of you, you actually meet them. A lot of congressmen on the weekends, when they're back on ACB or sometimes when they're on break, they have a lot of breaks, but they're actually at home, working at home. And so you can go to these events, walk right next to them. The point with these is make friends. You find out some comment, you might be down and have them down and then get into a conversation. Maybe you go to something a couple of times, you meet them 3 times in a short period of time, and they remember you. And they say, oh, here you are. And so that's great. You can encourage them to do something about human rights. And if you know specific situations in your area, take those things up. And then you can think of another idea, another reason. Oh, it's my brother. What do you mean, my brother? That's why I'm coming today. And you can just keep on going back, make friends, create a communication line there. So that something very urgent comes up, you're not just like walking in and you don't know you. And all of a sudden you're saying, hey, do something about this. You already know the people there. Hey, do something about this. And they'll say, oh, of course, maybe do something about this. So that's the kind of things you need to do. You can always come to DC, but you don't have to. When you do the DC, it's like, what exactly are we going to do about it? That's why you have so many professionals, why I have all this here. In the district, it's like, what do you care about? You don't have to make this. You don't have to come in with the person deal. Here's my one with this lady. That would be nice, but you don't have to do that. You can go in and say, I'm going to start the human rights argument to find out something to do. And we do something. And if I'm about, you know, that's why they get into working in justice and working in professional office. They want to help them. To do something. They appeal to that. Now, one thing you may think, well, maybe some of these things like trafficking may not be happening in your area, but probably is because everything's online. You have 2x storage. You can get out there and do something, and maybe go visit an office, put on your Facebook page or something, and also address to your area. It probably may not be with your district, but be able to. So these are the kind of things. Legislators one legislator said, I got an office and I was protecting everybody come in and say, do this, and nobody came. So they are looking for that. They want that. And when you go locally, you can talk about issues in your community. Online child safety act is one thing that is protecting kids from abuse online, and then also human rights. House Resolution 1144 that was mentioned earlier to identify So that, these are very important, and we want to get for them. And they go, oh, okay, that's an important position. And they're in DC. And they have maybe one of 50 cities. Also, we talk to us about that. Pay attention. And then, you also, you want to start, how do we cover our laws of lines of the universal declaration? Are those based on human rights? Or do they actually somehow violate some people's human rights while protecting other people's rights? How does it work? And they're just thinking about it, but your rights actually inform the universal declaration. And then you can go often. You don't have to just go one time and make the whole, here I go. You can make the way to the line line, be able to talk to the person, keep going back and find them. And, and I think if you're helpful, they're going to like to see you come to more, and so that would be a good thing. And then you can also branch out. People in the business world have influence on other people in their community. Go in the store, there's thousands of people come to your CVS. And so if that person comes into the page to do something about drugs, or about something, they're like, oh, well, this person is seen in a doctor, a dentist, any patients, and these kind of things. You can really use your imagination on how you work out people to also reach a community that you can actually definitely affect. And also, health, the congressmen, they do care about folks. So if they see people who are influential in their community, they're going to want to, oh, okay, that person knows a lot of people, or maybe like a veterans association, actually, a lot of people. So the other thing you can do, well, that's the professional thing, you're talking to their influence, but also getting out there and speaking human rights at the grassroots level. And that is sort of getting out there to use rights materials, that have educator packages, or people just in an education setting. Don't have to be, they can have like a Sunday school class, and so they can get these educator packages free and donation to them, and you can also use them when you're talking to your community. Correct? Children should really learn this early in life. And once you become, like, they learn it very young. And it's like second nature. It's like saying, please and thank you. Keep them back. You should also teach them and they can, the other rights that we can figure out. And then, of course, the parents have to respect the human rights of their children. So, children both ways. We really don't want to have police officers. We don't want to have a police officer be like, this is my life, human rights, right? We want to be able to know that. Once we have it, we start practicing so that they don't need somebody to actually do this amongst themselves. And I think that, you can go to all these different kinds of organizations, like I was saying. You can do things also that are active, like we're going to do a march tomorrow, and you can do something like that. You can hold some kind of contest, like we have essay contests, art contests, we participate ourselves. And we also go out and hand out the place, go to places and have a petition and then word we petition on there. What's this all about? Looking if they want to sign on, and they have to go place, learning a booklet, sign a petition, get human rights education. That's all right. A lot of it in the United States is very low education. Very good to get education to school here and talk to people. So the final call to action is to come to the United Nations Summit this summer. Okay? Everybody will be there. There'll be many public papers there. But we love it to come to this. It's an amazing experience. I've been in most of them. I think maybe all of them. And it's just an amazing thing. It's 500 people. You get in there, so you can get your in there quickly, so you can get your tickets. It's right there in the headquarters. And we get the word out, and we also interchange bring people waiting right after with success that they have used in Africa or in Europe, Australia, some people will all be there to find out. And then I think the last thing here I want to say is that you can make human rights a fact. Speak up, teach others, be sure to come to together, to work together, like this kind of gathering. We need to come together with people that are doing this kind of work too. I see people here in communities and exchange your ideas and the wins that you have. Stay bolstered up, stay enthusiastic about it, because we will make it nice and fast. Thank you very much. I'd like to take the part.
These are your human rights. There are 30 of them. They belong to you. You don't have to fight them or apply for them or ask permission to have them. They're just yours. No matter who you are, where you're from, how old you are, or anything else. They're just yours. No matter who you are, where you're from, how old you are, or anything else. It's just accident. Now some people think they're going to ignore your rights and violate them or pretend they don't exist. But they can't change the fact that they are yours. You will remember them. No one can take away your rights. But our human rights, find out humanrights.org.
Good morning. I'm gonna read you some rights.
Like what?
Conservative. You have the right to life. To life. It's the right to freedom and safety. You have the right to education. You have the right to your own things. You have the right to social security. You have the right to life. You have the right to democracy. You have the right to asylum. You have the right to take responsibility. And no one takes his rights and freedoms away from you.
Why are you doing this?
You have the right to lead.
Close, I'd like to
Oh.
Okay, everyone, so, whoop, what a day, yeah? Give again a great round of applause to our MC, Erica Kennedy. Our candidates, honoring us today. To our volunteers helping out, bringing you here in this room. USID HR staff. Human Rights Washington DC and for Human Rights International teams. And for each and every one of you here advocates for being part of this historic day. We heard today from leaders in different fields, different experiences, different battles. And yet one common thread runs through every panel. And we've seen it also in this video that just ran behind me. That is responsibility. We spoke about human trafficking, about prevention, awareness, and the courage to confront exploitation before it destroys lives. We spoke about veterans, men and women who have already carried the weight of service, who deserve systems that carry them in return. we spoke about human rights education, about the role of UN human rights delegates, advocates, and educators, teachers, in shaping a culture where dignity is not optional, but foundational. These are not separate issues. They are reflections of one question: what kind of society we are looking to build? A society that reacts only when crisis erupts, or a society that prevents harm before it even begins? A society that honors service just through words, or one that backs gratitude with policy and protections? A society that speaks about human rights, or that one that teaches them, leads them, and defends them? Human rights are not sustained by documents alone. Dr. Stoppenberg was telling us how 77 years ago the UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights was adopted. If you read the preamble of the declaration, the very preamble, before it starts article number 1, it says that only through teaching and education we will have human rights on earth. And now I want to ask you, when was the last time you've heard about human rights being taught in schools? Say by mathematics, say by geography, say by history. Did you know that there is only one country in the entire world that has recently, I'll say, adopted mandatory human rights education in the world? Who knows what that is? Louder. Costa Rica. And it was through the efforts of Youth for Human Rights International and a very courageous team of volunteers, and obviously Dr. Mary Shuttleworth, who have led this effort. Now, we have a lot of guys in the world. My question for you is, who's going to take up that model and continue the implementation? I know all of you here, most of you live in the United States, but some of you originally are from other countries. So what I really want from you is stop talking what is bad in your country and start doing something. It is with leaders like you that we can make change. You know, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Mahatma Gandhi, all of these leaders, there were one person at one time who believed in change, believed that something can be done about it. I want you, all of you here, to be that person. So don't wait for legislators, Congress, Senate, presidents to do something. Just do it yourself. See the wrongdoings in the world, do it yourself. Education must become engagement. Engagement must become policy. Policy must become prevention. This is how prevention happens. This is how veterans are honored. This is how human rights move from principles to practice. Let today not be a conference, let it be a commitment. Thank you again to our panelists. Thank you to our delegates. And thank you for choosing to lead where leadership is needed most. Round of applause for all. Now, I want to take a brief moment before we break for lunch to give you some. First of all, this is very last minute, and I just wanted to, again, you've heard about the anniversary of Youth for Human Rights International, 25 years ago. And some of you might know or might not know this story, but my beginnings, when I moved to the United States in 2015, I was honored to be accepted as one of the youth delegates at the Youth for Human Rights International Summit at the UN. So I'm doing and that's when I met Dr. Mary Shuttleworth for the first time. Along with her, I met many others, young advocates and leaders and heads of states and ambassadors and diplomats, and everyone from all over the world united under one purpose, which was to teach and talk about human rights and talk about the results they've done about human rights. So that being said, I feel like at this point in my life, after building U.S. Institute of Diplomacy and Human Rights, the partnerships that we've developed together with Youth for Human Rights International over the years will continue, because I know many of you are students. You've watched these videos before, right? 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 Come on, guys, you're not embarrassed. So you did finish that training, otherwise I'll go back and check that, right? So I want you all to join me, and I want to nominate Julie DeBoss, who's our chair of the U.S. Migration Defense Committee, join me in awarding Dr. Mary Shuttle Award and Youth for Human Rights International for the appointment of academic leaders.
Yes.
Almost here.
Very good. All of us are recognized that we're actually behind us, the Washington DC chapter, all of that content. We'd like to present flowers. Thank you for your dedication. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for inspiring us. Many asked for the Nobel Peace Prize. You received it. We believe you are one of the few that should receive it.
Everybody look over here. Look over here.
Y así se cierra la sesión de la mañana de United for Human Rights Conference, Unidos por los Derechos Humanos, conferencia en Washington, D.C. Vamos a hacer un break para el almuerzo y luego nos vamos al Congreso, al Capitolio. Allí no sé si nos van a dejar grabar, así que esperemos que sí, y si no, vamos a hacer un reporte de lo que pasó allí. Han venido personas de todos lados de Estados Unidos, han viajado. Pensilvania, Nueva York, New Jersey, han venido de North Carolina.
She's about, so this is the first leg of her world tour. I'm not sure how she's gonna travel the world with frame, but, we will keep it, or ship it to her, but we really want it, I think it's a blessing, just having her in person and start the world tour right here in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Again, a round of applause for Yeah, I wanted to give you some instructions because I know you have the agenda.
Gracias por estar aquí.
Of the program. That this happens usually with live events. So I just wanted to tell you that we are moving the U.S. Capitol tour. Because you see like how many beautiful people we have in this room? We have to split ourselves into two groups, right? So there's going to be a group that starts the tour at 2 p.m. and another group that will start a Capitol Visitor tour at 2:20 p.m. That means we need to be very smart about this, how we move from this building to the other building. So I will just give you instructions.
All right. Ahora Isabel está dando instrucciones sobre lo que va a pasar luego. Estén atentos a las redes de Latinos con Voz. Probablemente tengamos otro en vivo más adelante a partir de las 2:20 de la tarde. Muchas gracias.
Like, oh, I need to use the